All right, and to call to order, welcome to today is February 8th, Board of Education meeting. I would like everybody to stand for the pledge and remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, so we have a lot on our agenda. So Dr. Pelletieri, I'm going to pass it over to you for the superintendent's report.
Certainly. Thank you very much. We are going to jump in immediately because there is a lot on the report. I'm going to ask Dr. Miller to come up. From our accountant, the head of our counseling, college and career. It's a pretty long title. But Dr. Miller, please, we're going to recognize some students tonight.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. We would like to honor some of our students enrolled in BOCES career training programs. The following students have won Employee of the Month in their individual program. The title of Employee of the Month was established to recognize those students whom their instructors would want to hire. These individuals have a combination of wonderful career skills, professionalism, and the desire to be trained. Being selected as Employee of the Month is an honor, and these students serve as role models among their peers. We had 5 students win, all of them are Sachem East. We have 1 in attendance with us tonight. So I'd like to call up Michael Bossuino, who won Employee of the Month for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning.
Yeah, Michael, stay there. Michael, is there a microphone there? Give it to Michael, will you please, for a second? Michael, heating, ventilation, right? Is that HVAC?
Yeah.
Okay. If this thing's blowing a little hot for us, can you check it out or?
Maybe after.
What are you going to be when you leave BOCES and Sachem schools?
Probably a HVAC technician.
Okay. Looks like a pretty good career.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to tell you, like, all I see on the roads these days is HVAC trucks and oil and heating and AC. I mean, it really, the service industries are lacking, right? I think you're going to walk, hopefully, right into a career and a job. Did you give that some thought before you went into the program?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. And we have other kids as well? Yeah. Do you know other Sachem kids in the program? Not so many?
Not so many.
But you earned Employee of the Month.
Yeah.
For what reason?
I don't know.
Okay. Because you, like LeBron said the other day, are the best in the world. All right? Don't forget that. Thanks for coming out. I appreciate it. Thank you. You know what? Can we get a picture with Mom and Dad and everyone real quick?
Congratulations, Michael.
Additionally, we had 4 other students win who cannot be with us tonight, but we will be sending their certificates home. So I would just like to acknowledge them. George Mendez, who won for aviation and pilot training. Jason Boileau, Animal Science 2. Matthew Mendelson, Animal Science. and Giovanni Cristani for plumbing. Again, congratulations to all. My second recognition tonight is this week, the first full week of February, is National School Counseling Week. It is designed to focus public attention on the unique contribution of counselors within our schools. It is also designed to highlight the tremendous impact our school counselors have in helping students achieve success and plan for their post-high school lives. I'd like to take a minute to recognize our school counselors for all they do. They are a valuable resource for our students and often serve as the point person in our schools, navigating conflicts, academic concerns, outside of school issues, college and career planning, scheduling, peer interactions, etc. We could go on and on with all our school counselors do. I've been very fortunate since I'm in this position to witness firsthand the amount of time our counselors dedicate to our community, and I'm proud to work with them. So while we recognize them on National School Counseling Week, it is important to note that they should be celebrated every day for all that they do. So thank you to the board and thank you to district office for your constant support of our counselors and our kids and our programs. Thank you.
Dr. Miller, thank you for your leadership as well. Much appreciated. Our second group that we're going to have up, Mrs. Bongiorno, you want to come up? Thank you very much. And three of her students. You know, if you've watched the board meetings of late or visited us, I think we had one person last month. So, but if you've watched of late on TV, you may have seen that we've been working toward and talking about our Seal of Civic Readiness. It's a program our kids can be a part of when they graduate school. They'd get a seal on their diploma. It's really important that we prepare our students to be members of our society and to vote and take part in elections and take part in all that shapes us. And so I want to thank you for your leadership. I know we have this going on now. It's new to us, but it's working already. We had a graduate at East already who graduated this past week with that seal or a week ago. And I know you have some students tonight, and part of their project is to present to the board. So please go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thanks to the Board of Education for having us here tonight. Thank you to our district office administrators and building administrators for their support. Thank you to Kim Walker, our fabulous library media specialist, for all of her help. Yes. She's wonderful. And thank you to the parents of these students for raising amazing young men. It is so impressive for students their age to have the confidence, intelligence, and drive to take this on. They are each so unique, so special, and so unbelievably important to this project and to me. They are natural leaders, and I have no doubt that this is just the beginning. I'm so very proud of them. So this is the first time that Sachem students were able to complete a middle school capstone project in order to earn a point toward the Seal of Civic Readiness. The project asked students to identify an issue in their school, community, state, or nation. They had to research opposing viewpoints and develop a solution. So Jason, Casey, and Anthony took an issue that they thought was a Sachem one and quickly realized that it was not only a state issue, but a national one. And they're here tonight to present their findings and ask for your help. Okay, great. So here you guys go. Here's the microphone, and then this is the clicker. I'm going to turn it on. It's going to click. Well, you usually click. Okay. All right.
Milk is already provided with school lunch, but should students have more of a choice? We, Jason Damiano, Casey Geluso, and Anthony Sacco, are hoping to add bottled water to the school lunch menu. The USDA requires schools to provide milk with the school lunch. The reality is that students either do not drink or throw out their milk. This is wasteful for many reasons. This issue is not unique to Sagamore. In fact, it is an issue across the country.
In 1946, President Harry Truman signed the National School Lunch Act into law. According to this act, the only beverage to be offered with student lunch is milk. This information was verified by Sachem's Food Service Director, Lisa Zdenek.
While researching this issue, we found that milk has benefits such as calcium, protein, and vitamin D for strong bones, teeth, and muscles. However, the milk served in our school cafeteria also contains saturated fat and sugar. Cream-O-Land 1% low-fat milk has 1.5 grams of saturated fat and 12 total sugars. Cream-O-Land chocolate milk has no kinds of fat, but 22 grams of total sugars and 11 grams of those are added sugars. Water has no kinds of fats or sugars.
Additionally, U.S. dietary habits have changed since 1946, and the consumption of milk has decreased over 50%, as you can see in this chart.
Many credible sources say that water is a healthy alternative to milk. For example, the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health suggests a healthy eating plate, which includes water as a beverage. Harvard suggests limiting milk, dairy, and juice, as well as avoiding sugary drinks. This is the healthy eating plate created by the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, which was created as an example of a balanced meal. As you can see in the top right corner, it suggests water over dairy.
A study by a researcher at the University of Illinois, which encouraged children to drink plain water with their school lunches, found that the simple switch from milk to water at school could prevent more than 500,000 kids from becoming overweight or obese and trim the cost of obesity by more than $13 billion. The CDC affirms that water provides hydration and is a healthy alternative to sugar-sweetened beverages.
The solution to this problem is adding bottled water as a choice alongside milk.
We issued a survey in which 721 students and staff responded, resulting in 96.4%, as shown in the blue, in support of having the option of bottled water with school lunch. And we believe that students around the country would support this as well.
We were excited to see school lunches made the news on Friday. These guidelines that the Biden administration announced validates our argument because water has less added sugars than milk.
By doing this project, we learned that if you feel like there is something wrong in your school or community, you should work to change it. We realized that limiting students to milk with school lunch is outdated and possibly even detrimental to our overall wellness. We are going to continue to work together to try to implement this positive change for students in Sachem, and we hope that you can help.
We have composed a letter to the director of the nutrition program for the New York State Education Department. We are hoping you can support us by signing this letter.
We are proud to say that we have gained the support of New York State PTA President Helen Hoffman.
We would appreciate your input on how this policy can be enacted at Sachem.
So will you be in support of signing our letter that will go to the New York State Education Department?
So I have a few questions if you guys don't mind. Who's Jason? Who's Casey? Who's Anthony?
I'm
You gotta-
Jason.
Say that again.
I'm Jason.
Hi, Jason.
I'm Casey.
Hey, Case.
And I'm Anthony.
Hey, Casey, I like those. What size are those shoes? Oh, I like those shoes. So I had Taco Bell for dinner and a wild cherry Pepsi. No good? Probably no good. Okay. Talk to me a little bit about this process. I saw that picture of you guys in the library, right, over at school at Sagamore. Talk to me about this process.
So when we were first introduced with hearing about the project, we had to think a lot about what we wanted to do, but we kind of pointed our focus on a school issue, which we later thought of lunch and how milk is something that is not used or not drank by many people, and it's mostly either thrown out or wasted. And more people would rather prefer water, as shown in our survey, with 97% of people wanting water added in our school lunches. So we spent the next few weeks just going to the library almost every day during our lunch periods and just discussing the project, making slides, adding letters, making flashcards, and figuring out how we would present this to you guys because we wanted to make a change.
So is water available at lunch, or it just doesn't come with the lunch that you buy?
Water is available in the vending machines.
Okay. So it's not available right there at the counter as an alternative to the milk?
No.
Not for free, no.
Okay. Well, none of it's free, right? My kids have that issue. Okay. So, but it's not available there at that time as a substitute, right? Instead of grabbing the milk, I'll grab the water.
No.
So we did some research on this, and you spoke to Lisa Zedednik, which you did a great job pronouncing her name. I'm really proud of you. And that took me a couple months, that name. And she confirmed, right, that it's not an option, and it's not up to us either, really. Is that correct?
Yes, that is.
And what was the advice given by her? Did she give you any advice on how to change this, perhaps?
Not really. She kind of just told us she couldn't help us.
Okay. Well, I stepped into that one. I apologize. That's Mrs. Zednik. I apologize. Yeah, but you then went back and started this process of brainstorming. I saw that picture of you guys in the library, really serious picture of you guys brainstorming, and you came up with this idea of we have to keep going, right?
Yes.
So what did you do next?
After we got our idea, we started working on a brainstorm and all like the links and stuff to find our details for this project. And then after that, we started working on our slides.
How did you get the research?
What we did was we found like topic words that related to this idea, and then we would search those up on Google or other search engines and then find links related to that
Why did you put research in your project?
to find more details and make it better.
Okay, yeah, confirm, right, what it is that you're thinking and give it some strength behind it, right? We don't just want to blast things out there and then not have any evidence to back it up. So that's fantastic. So who wrote this letter and what does it say, basically? What is it asking?
I did. It reinstates.
You wrote this letter by yourself?
Yeah.
Outstanding.
The letter that we wrote, it reinstates the details that we added, and it asks the board for their support in signing that letter to the New York State Education Department.
So I'm sure maybe some of the board members, questions or
Can I
comments?
just really, really quick before we have questions, I just want to thank Ms. Bongiorno and everyone at Sagamore, all of our schools. This is the first year of our 8th grade rollout of our capstone project under Miss O'Doherty and Miss Carasulo. Mr. Carasulo, excuse me, just called him a miss. But honestly, this is what Sal Nicosia would have been the most proud of. To see these students up here today really just brings a little bit of a tear to my eye in terms of self-advocacy. In 1 year, we are seeing 3 young men, young, very brilliant men who will no doubt take this and use this as an experience moving on into the high school. And I couldn't be more proud of our staff. Ms. Walker, I really appreciate as well. I know you played a major role in terms of the research and helping them to write the letter. And this is a tremendous effort for us. And we're so proud of you boys, but I'm sorry, I have to just say, like, tears in my eyes. This is a tremendous milestone for us. So you should be very proud of yourselves, and teachers, staff, you should be very proud as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Meredith.
So I just want to commend you guys. I'm the mother of 3 boys. You guys are a great example of young men that are willing to stand up for yourselves and figure out how to make things better. So I am very proud to support you guys. You're telling us that to make this water available instead of the milk, and I used to be a breakfast mom at Grundy, and I watched the milk.
Meredith,
on stage.
just push your button.
Sorry. Better. Okay. So I used to watch the milk pile up on the stage, and you're right. Nobody really drinks it. So for us to support you, and then you're going to be able to take this further. So hopefully we can get New York State to change that rule. Is that what we're doing?
Yes.
Okay. Because we as a school can't just say tomorrow, poof, we get milk, we get water instead of milk, right?
Correct.
Okay. So I'm pretty impressed with all 3 of you, and I thank you for your efforts.
Thank you.
Ms. Darcernia.
So this is one of those things that when we got all this information already in the packet, and when you start reading, well, of course, that seems so obvious. We should be able to have milk as an option, right? So, and I agree, the engineer in me can't argue with the numbers. I mean, clearly the sugars in milk alone can be removed just by having water available, right? And you have such a large response. I think it's a no-brainer in terms of people wanting that option. So, of course, you'll be taking on the entire cow lobby of the United States, right? Because they're not going to want the milk demand reduced. But And I'm certainly all for, I think that this is a great idea. But one of the ways you can expand your project would be to actually suggest food that would replace the calcium in the milk. That because the argument you're going to get, of course, is that, well, the milk is providing the calcium, the milk is providing the vitamins. The water doesn't have that either. So you're going to need to expand your project a little bit by suggesting, well, we can make up the calcium loss through broccoli or through, I should have said broccoli. That's probably not, I wouldn't say Skittles or anything like that. But so this is another avenue you could take your project to help bolster your case for removing the milk and putting in the water. But great job. And as far as the letter, I have no objections.
Stephanie.
Amazing job. You guys are definitely what we want our kids to be. So good job. My question is, are you taking this to elected officials? Are you going outside of the school district?
Yes, that's what we're hoping to do.
That's awesome. Great job.
Thank you.
Do you want to go? Yeah.
Boys, great job. First, I went to Sagamore a long, long time ago. I never even thought about that when we were eating our lunch. We had so many other things, but I'm glad that this is now in front of you. If you need help with reaching out to any of the local officials that I can help you with, I'm more than happy to help you with that. I'm more than happy to sign on to the letter. I drink about 14 of these a day, so I'm all for the water. I can't drink the milk anymore. I don't know what happened. All of a sudden I got old and I can't drink milk anymore. But I'm all for the water. I think this project is great. The fact that this is our first one, I look forward to seeing all the future projects that you guys do. And I'm just happy that we're on this path. Great job.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I just wanted to say wonderful job. I have to give you credit for standing up here and speaking to, the cabinet, the board, and all the community members that are here and that are watching at home to stand up for something that you think is really important and that's going to make a change. So kudos to you and also to your parents and teachers, for everybody who's supporting you. I know you have my support. I get a little notification that my kids are charging at the vending machines to get their water because they don't like lugging these around. So I think that's a wonderful addition, and thank you for doing that. I love the civics. I give you guys such credit, and I hope to see more from our Sachem students. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess I'll just say I don't want to be the only one not to say anything. Great job, guys. That was awesome. I hate milk, so I'm with you. I love water. So save the cows. Let's go. All right, good.
Well, they're not harming the cows by taking the milk from them.
Thank you.
No, now I'll be the last one, Matt, so you don't have to. No, congratulations, guys. Great job. And I'm glad I fought 2 hours of traffic coming back from the city to see your presentation. So
Thank you. Thank you.
I have, first off, you're standing in size order, which is really perfect. I have an idea that I think is kind of next level. All right.
Okay.
So we have these plastic bottles that nobody likes, right? And we're going to now put more plastic bottles. Why don't we, when we ask for water, use some type of, and I've seen this in the stores, recyclable container, like the milk carton, but for water, and make that part of this initiative as well, so that we're not adding plastic.
Yeah,
everything
we spoke about this, about having water containers that are made out of paper instead of using plastic.
You could use this, right? A water container, like your hand. That wouldn't work. You walk back to your lunch, your table with water. That wouldn't work. So when did you speak about that?
One of our days at the library.
You dropped it though. You didn't keep it in the presentation.
We never had
Okay.
it. It was always in the back of our mind if
all
it
right.
came up.
Maybe bring it to the forefront. Maybe I could go on the road with you guys when we go and talk about these things. All right. But think about that piece. I think it just ties a nice little bow on it in terms of the, some folks will be concerned about plastic, as we've seen in the oceans and recycling and things like that. So as our vice president here tonight, so she brings her own bottle, we fill up, right? And you can do that yourself. So there is water available. But I think if we're going to do this, let's do those recyclable type of cartons for the water. I think that'd be a home run. Okay.
Can I just add one thing? 2 of our board members are not here today, and they just sent me text saying that you did a fabulous job and they 100% support your letter. So they wanted to let me know. So I just want to know you have full support from your board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think you just set a record, actually, because I don't get that many times. All right, we're going to take a picture. Okay, please. Thank you so much.
I'm gonna have you guys look here first, and then I'll move out of the way.
Get it. Well, hold on one second.
Hold on, left, right.
We're gonna look here first, and then we'll look at that.
All right, right here, guys. 1, 2, 3. There it is.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on 1 second. Excuse me. We have 2 other sophomore people.
Come back here.
This is not a time for humble.
Go back.
This is not a time to be humble. You all helped.
No. I don't know where to stand. So I'm not sure.
You're okay right there. Yeah, I can see
Okay.
everyone. All right, right here, one more time, guys. Thank you.
Awesome. Of course, of course. Just want to say Miss Adority should have been in that picture, but she was, again, taking her own pictures of everybody.
Well, outstanding. Thank you so much. What we just witnessed here, I was privy to for, I'll say, the past few weeks as I visited all 5 of our secondary buildings and had student roundtables at each building with our administration and our students. About 10, 15 students we had at each building. Really amazing the level of conversation that we had, my takeaways with my team as we came back, talked about so many different things around mental health, around all the way down to specific things about Chromebooks and how they're used. And diversity was a big topic amongst our students, making sure that everyone feels heard and cared for in our district. Really amazing. And to hear our students and their grasp of the conversations that we had really impressed me. So those student roundtables were great. We're going to continue those, right, Mrs. Hines? We're going to make sure that I get to continue that. Really learned a lot from our students. And I will say that I think Seneca had some really good cookies. I remember that. I barely got even one because the kids were just, we should have it after lunch maybe next time because the kids were voracious eaters of cookies at Seneca.
Frank has steam coming out of his ears right now.
Frank, you had cookies too, though, right? Yeah, I think Mrs. Salvia did some home baking, though. That may have been the difference. But again, to work with our youngsters and see that level of commitment, conversation, concern that they have for one another, for their buildings, how they feel cared for, how they feel like they have trusted adults in their lives at home and here really spoke volumes to me. So while we saw that on display tonight, I got to see that at all 5 buildings. I was really happy with that. Okay. Our next conversation is going to be headed by Lieutenant Pangaro, who worked with us since late this summer and throughout the year on what we call a threat and risk vulnerability assessment. Okay. We're going to pause for one moment in case some parents, staff, kids want to go home, okay? We'll do that for a moment. Thank you so much. Frank, John, and Donna, you don't have to stay. Want to see this? Oh, okay, great. look at Mr. Pangaro. We got Lieutenant Pangaro. We got some visitors. So again, we are going to be discussing our threat vulnerability risk assessment. Lieutenant Pangaro was with us since the summer. You'll notice, I'll remind everyone that last year the board asked him the community really asked us, and the board worked with Mr. Lieutenant Pangaro to come into the district and assess all things security. And I've asked him today, he's delivered his final report. I've asked him today to give a summation to our community on a vital topic, right? I like to have a little levity when we talk about a lot of things, but this one is a serious topic. It's always first and foremost in our mind. That is the safety and security of our students and staff. So we asked an expert, a national expert, to come in and work with us, review what we have. And Lieutenant Pangaro, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Superintendent. And I want to thank the board and everybody here and everybody that came out tonight, that if you came to hear about safety and security, we're going to talk a little bit about it. When I came here in 2018, I came out and I did a threat assessment for your district. When I came here in 2018, you needed a lot of things. You needed policy changes, you need equipment updates, you needed just a different culture of safety and security. Well, how many years have gone by? Now here we are in 2023, and we all know the danger that we face everywhere. So like the superintendent says, this is a serious topic, but we have to remember at this point, this is not brand new. We all kind of get it, and they asked me to come back and take a look. How have we progressed since you were here in 2018? We did things. The board did a lot of things. They took the report and they actually took it to heart. I got to tell you, I go all across the country. I see lots and lots of different districts. And when I came back here, I didn't know exactly what to expect, but I was pleasantly surprised with everything that has been done in this district. So we see that the horrors of these school attacks, and we look back, and that's where it began for me as a law enforcement officer. I'll tell you a little bit about me so you know who I am. I spent 27 years in law enforcement, and I worked my way through the ranks. I was mostly in the investigative division. As I got more senior on the job, I got promoted a few times. I ended up as a lieutenant, and one of those jobs was conducting safety and security threat assessments. We had shopping malls and businesses and schools and all that kind of stuff in our town. So I was trained by Homeland Security how to go there and look, not just at doors and windows, but look at all of the things that make up safety and security, because it's a lot more than just door locks and cameras. Safety and security is about the culture of a location. Do people take security seriously? Do they work on it? Do they look for things that are a problem and want to fix it? So when I came and I did it in 2018, I gave a very detailed report, and I hoped for the best. Well, I come back now, and the board asked me to come back and say, listen, take a look at what we've done since 2018, and then tell us where we need to go further. And this is important for you to know. I had absolute cooperation from every single person in this district when I came back. And that's kind of unusual at times, because when I walk in and there's a security director, like Mr. Wilson, where there is a superintendent, there's a board, a lot of people are very concerned about what I'm going to find. What if I find things that could be embarrassing? How come they didn't do this? How come they didn't do that? And sometimes they withhold things from me. Well, when I got here the first time and it was repeated the second time, absolutely none of that was found. What every person said to me, down to your building principals, and I'll tell you who I talked to in a minute, everybody, Mr. Wilson, the superintendent, tell us where we're weak and what we need to do to be safe and secure. Now, we know the most recent terrible tragedy was Uvalde. And there's lots of lessons there. The things that they did there, I teach and train about that, and I use it as a backdrop. Many of the things that they had a problem with, where they left doors open and unlocked, even though they were supposed to. That doesn't happen in your district, all right? They had equipment that was broken. You know, the door we all heard about that the police had to go get battering rams? That door lock didn't work. They could have just turned the knob and went in. It had been reported for months, and nobody repaired it. As I walked around your district, if I found a door or a window that needed some kind of repair, I reported it. Before I left that building, there was a team on it fixing it, right? Responsiveness, that's a culture of security. When I talked to people the first time around, a lot of the teachers were apprehensive. Administrators were apprehensive about safety and security. worried. This time around, people were prepared. One of the things I do is I talk and I interview everybody that I can, especially all your building administrators. And what I found, each and every one of them is concerned about safety and security. They're smart. They come up with different things to do. They worry about these kids as if it's their own children in the building. So that's kind of where we go from. So after a lieutenant, I became the director of school safety and security when I retired from the PD. So I got to see what schools really need, not just what police officers think you need, right? So that was helpful to me. My company is Long Island based. So I have a base here in Long Island. I never thought when I grew up in Jersey that I would spend so much time here, but it's really a wonderful place. The families are wonderful. The people in the districts are really wonderful. So I like it. I've conducted dozens and dozens and dozens of these assessments. I just got back from California. And you think about California, they have a lot of shootings there. And the district I was at had nothing. People still just walk through unlocked doors, no equipment. I could not believe this. And I said, why do you like this? They said, well, we didn't want to make it feel like it was a prison. We wanted it to be open. I said, but do you understand what you have going on here? And now they're doing a lot of different changes. That's not your district. They have done amazing amounts of things. They did almost everything in that report to the point that I don't want to say shocked, but they took it that seriously. They spent the money, the board spent the money that was needed to be spent to make the schools safe. And I thought that was fantastic. So the members of the Board of Education, superintendent asked me to take this fresh look. And I went out and I do look at doors and windows because that's important. But you see all the vestibules in these buildings? Those are not inexpensive. And that was one of the things I said, this is a big ticket item. We need vestibules. Because believe it or not, most of these people that attack us, they come to the front door. That's where they start. Because where do we go? When you go somewhere, you go to the front door. Then there's all kinds of other equipment that we can put in. There's technology that can help us that didn't exist in 2018 that does exist now. So we looked at all of those kind of things. Best practices is the term that we use. Are you doing the right things based on what we've learned from every single previous event? Because every time an event takes place, people like me sit down and study it. I told you I teach about Uvalde. Well, I teach about Sandy Hook. I teach about Columbine, because each time we see one of these, we can learn from it. We look at it and say, where did they go wrong? What did they overlook? And then we put that in our assessments. And that's the culture of security that has to develop. And it really developed here very well. I was telling Director Wilson that I looked over your emergency operations plans, and I see them all across the country. Some of them are very rudimentary, dangerous almost. When I read the plan that you have here, I looked at that and I said, can I steal this? Because other districts in the country need this plan. That's how good of a plan it is. I usually like to go through and mark things out, to add this, take this out. What are you doing that for? This was an amazing plan. Now, as I talk about this, you're going to say to yourself, well, Lieutenant Joe is here. He's talking very highly about things. I'm an independent person. I come here. My view when I show up in your district is to say, what if my kid went to these schools? If my child was in these schools, would they be safe? Right? I get along with everybody. I get along with the director. I get along with the superintendent, with the board. Everybody's very nice. My job is not to be nice. My job is to look and see if there was an attack, if something were to happen, would you be prepared? And that's what I found. And that's why I'm very happy about Sachem. I go lots of places and they do a lot here. That's very, very important. All right. So great updates since 2018. Did I find some things now to add to that, to enhance that? Yes. There's more things we can do. Like I said, technology has changed. The camera systems that we have in place here are unbelievable, right? One of the things that you want to think of when I talk about responding to violence, the key to it is the little phrase I use called time equals life. If somebody were to come in that back door to try and hurt us, and we didn't hear them coming or see them coming, and they turn and step into that room, our chances are not very good. But if we could see them out in the parking lot, if we could see them coming, we could see them coming from a camera or a person standing there watching, like we have security watching over us tonight. If we have that in place, you have time to respond. So those are some of the things that I looked at. How do we get kids in and out of the buildings? Are we doing the right things? Are we making sure that we can see approaching danger? Now, the first time I came, There was a lot of activity where you would see bunching. You know, you go to a school and you see all the teachers bunched up and they're talking and nobody's watching. You don't see that so much in your district because that was one of the things we look at, and that's in the report again. It's reinstating. Go back over that. Make sure people know. Be at the ends of the buses. Open your eyes. Have radios. They got a lot of radios, and we're going to look for some more radios. Radios are fast communication. So I was very, very happy with what I saw compared to 2018. Who did I interview? Well, this could be a bone of contention for some places. They want you to talk to some people, not talk to other places. They don't want to hear things. They don't want people knowing what you're doing. I talked to building administrators, teachers. I talked to students, you know, appropriately. I talked to students. I talked to staff members and parents. And when I would ask the parents as they were pulling up, dropping their kids off, hey, here's where I am. This is what I'm doing. How do you feel about security in the district? And to a person, they said, I think they take it pretty serious here. I think it's pretty good here, right? That's a culture of security. When I went through the buildings, I asked some of the principals, hey, could you do a lockdown for me? I'd like to see one. You want to see people get apoplectic sometimes when I ask that. No, we only do them on Tuesdays at 3 o'clock. Well, that doesn't really prepare us to respond to violence. That's just a check-off box. State says we have to do 2 a year, so we check it off the box. Not here. Every single principal in every single building said to me, let's do it. Let's do it right now. And I did a bunch of them. And I was very impressed with the leadership that you have in these buildings. And that's one of the things that I look at, because in an emergency, your children in that building, who's leading that charge to protect them is important. Are they prepared? Are they mentally prepared? Do they have the training how to use the equipment? Could they handle things under fire, so to speak? We all think would be great in an emergency. And then we see lots of people fall apart. I saw police officers fall apart. We're trained to do certain things, and then bullets are flying and people don't react the way you think. Your leadership was very, very good. And there's specific leaders that I pointed out that I thought were absolutely amazing. Many of them are here tonight. So I thought that was great. I spoke to your bus drivers to ask them, what do they think? I spoke to residents in the neighborhood. Director Wilson invited me to go to an event with the police, with the Suffolk County Police, where they were talking about school safety and security. I went there and questioned the police. What do you do? What are you doing? What are you doing? Trying to build that relationship up so that it's tighter with the police. You know, that's an important element, because if something happens, that's who's coming, right? Police are coming, but they're not coming just from Suffolk County. You're going to get police everywhere. So building that relationship is something that we look at, and something that I speak police. That's what I did. So I can speak to them, and I reached out to them. They were excellent. We spoke to the director of security, the security officers. I sat down with the superintendent, and I have to tell you, I think he is a very good leader as well. And he didn't hide anything from me. He says, I want this place to be safe. Whatever we have to do, you tell me. Don't hold back. And I don't hold back, because I imagine if my kid was here, would I have wanted to hold back and say, well, I don't want to make him feel bad, or I shouldn't mention that, or that's too expensive. After what they spent the last time, they were willing to do the right thing. So I was very happy again with that. So it was a very good experience in interviewing everybody. When I talked to the parents and the kids said they felt safe. That's important. The kids also, they take it serious. And if I heard somebody saying something dangerous, I would tell somebody. I witnessed that firsthand. Kids actually do report things. Now, we don't want kids running around being little tattletales, but if somebody says something dangerous, they write something dangerous, they need to go tell somebody, and that's messaging. And that messaging gets through. Your principals are getting that out there. Your board and the superintendent are pushing that out there, and that I actually saw that firsthand, so that was great. So what did we see? I watched those arrivals, gym class, lunch times before class started. I got here in the morning. I do a thing called Lieutenant Joe's Coffee Walk. I get here before anybody else shows up at the building, even before the custodial staff. I get my coffee and I walk around and I look for doors and windows that were left open. Can I find my way in? Right? I got to tell you, last time I was here, 2018, on more than one building, I was sitting in the principal's office when he showed up, or she showed up. Who are you? I'm having my coffee. Hi, I'm Lieutenant Joe. You know, you told me your building was real secure, and I got in the back door. I didn't find that this time at all. Not one building, not one place. that I could pop a door in the morning and step in. Everything was locked, windows were closed. And anything that was even questionable, I immediately notified the director of security, and that was addressed. So that was really good. I did observe these lockdown drills. Now, lockdown drills, you'll see in certain schools that they don't take them serious. They check them off a box and they go through the motion. I have seen school teachers, administrators, when the lockdown starts, say, okay, let's get this over with, and just close it right away. I've seen teachers turn the lights back on in a room and say, that's enough of this nonsense. We're going to keep going. We don't have time for this. I didn't see that here. I saw these kids, adorable. We did a lockdown in one of the elementary schools. Now, we used to think elementaries are not, they're not dangerous. We know that they are now, right? And we did a lockdown, and we're getting ready to go up the hallway, and the principal's standing there, and he hits the button, and the lockdown signal starts going out, and this little angel comes running out of a bathroom. Where are you going? She says, that means I got to get to my classroom and close the door. She saved herself, right? She saved herself because she knew what to do. The message gets out. I didn't bet anybody else here besides me. Am I the only one that ducked and covered from nuclear bombs when they were in school? Right? Ducked and covered from nuclear bombs. But we knew what to do. We weren't freaked out. These kids, the parents are more upset that the kids are going to be freaked out about lockdown drills. It's part of life for the kids. They do it. And when they do it, because they hear the lockdown signal and it's not a drill, they don't know if it's not, and they react, that's going to save lives. And that's why I was very happy with your staffs, what the things that they did, what they were willing to do. I could tell you some stories, but I can't tell you everything, right? If I was to tell you everything that I suggested and everything that we have in place in these buildings, then everybody would know. And if somebody was of a mind to hurt us, they would know what's in place and they could learn how to get around it. And that's always the hardest thing, because as a parent myself, when I went to my son's school district, I said, okay, what do you got in place? I'm a security guy. And they said, we can't tell you. No, you have to tell me. I'm a security guy. We can't tell you, because then you'll know and other people will know. And I know that was frustrating to me. So what did I do? I looked at the school board. I looked at the administrators. I looked at their security people. And if I could trust them, then they told me they did the right thing. I know they did the right thing, right? And my son would tell me about their lockdowns and everything. So while I can't tell you everything that I have recommended, everything that they have in place, and it's amazing, I can tell you I'm an outside set of eyes. I'm worried about your kids, right? It's very nice they hired me. I'm not worried what the board thinks. I'm not worried what the superintendent thinks. I'm not worried what the director thinks. I'm worried about making sure your kids are safe. And they have done an amazing job here. You can be confident. Everything that can be done is being done, whether it's already in place or they're adding more things to it. Does that mean, and I think that's one of my slides as I go here, does that mean nothing bad can ever happen here? Is that a guarantee you're going to give us? There's no guarantees in life. What we do have here, though, is we have things in place. We have training. We have a culture of security with people thinking about it, practicing it for real. And I wish I could tell you some of the drill things that I was amazed at what they were doing. If something does happen, if something starts to develop, there's a very good chance that the most people we can possibly have are going to survive because they've done things. They're going to keep people out of the buildings that don't belong there. And if somebody does try to get in, there's things that can slow them down. The camera systems, the training, the security officers. I can't tell you how many times I got approached by security because I would wear a hoodie, I would dress down, I wouldn't show my ID. And all of a sudden I'd see two guys looking and a guy comes up behind me. Excuse me, what are you doing on the campus here? Can I help you? Whoa, I didn't even see him coming. So they do a good job. I was very, very impressed with that. And I'm the kind of guy that did undercover. I used to sneak around and these guys caught me, which was good. That's a little bit of a joke. See, this is serious. We have to take a deep breath when it comes to this, right? I'm trying to give you good news here. You're in good way. All right, so one of the main rules of security, like I said, what can I tell you? I can tell you that they're doing what they should be doing. They have equipment and technology that they should have. There's things that I've suggested that I'm sure they're going to do that's going to enhance it even more. What you need to know, what's your role in this? Because I'm a security guy. Director Wilson's a security guy. His people are security. You know who else is security guys and girls? Everybody in this room. your children are on the security team, right? So this is where you go back to them and you tell them, hey, listen, your school is doing a lot to keep you safe. If you hear anything dangerous, make sure you tell a teacher. Tell me, tell the parent, and then you tell somebody, call the principal. Hey, I heard about this. You know, how many incidents don't make the paper that were very, very close because somebody told somebody and then the principal reacted? The ones we see on TV is when they catch them on the way to the school with all the weapons. There's a lot more that were the next day it was coming and they found out somebody saw something. Somebody said something. The children did that. The teachers did that. So you can be confident that that is going on and it's going to go on even more, right? There's even more things that we're going to try and help bring into the district to make it even safer. But it's a model. It's a model for how I wish other districts would be, even here on Long Island and across the country where I go. I try not to take too much time here. But this was the whole idea of this assessment. To come to a place one time is a great honor, to come and be a part of the family and take a good look and try and help. That's what I do now. I try and help. To be asked to come back and take and say, well, how come you didn't do this? And why didn't you do this? And why didn't you do this? And why didn't you do this? They did almost everything in that report. The important things they did, the little ancillary suggestions, that's the culture of the school. We want to do this, we want to do that. And I think going forward, that's going to continue because I've met with the board, met with them a couple times already. Superintendent's been great. Director Wilson's been great. Their idea is to make the school safer and safer and safer and safer. And when we see a gap, close a gap. That's what makes us safe. So that's the presentation I wanted to make. I wish I could tell you every single thing. I wish I could hand you the report, but I can't. Right? Because like I said, then everybody else knows about it, but they all know about it and they're committed to doing the right things. Does anybody have a question or two that I could see if I could answer? No? Good? Everybody's good? You're good up front? Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
one question. Is there any study to show schools in the country that have armed security, the benefits?
Well, that's a controversy everywhere, right? And will it help or will it not help? It depends on the culture, the area, what's going on. I would leave that decision completely to the board. There are some confidential things that I reviewed that I talk about, and I leave that always to the local school district. I don't say you have to have armed security, you don't have to have it, you should or you shouldn't. That's a culture of the community and what people want. The thing that saves us is being prepared, seeing it coming, and being able to lock down quickly, get into those rooms, close the doors, have equipment in place. That's what saves us. We have seen in some school districts, right, where they had armed people, didn't help them too much, right? We've seen other instances where they had armed people and it did help them. So I don't think it's not the be all and end all that sometimes people think it is, right? It's that preparation. So I'll leave you with this, and this is, I hope that answers your question. And this is how I look at all of this, and this will help you too. I wrote an article for Campus Safety Magazine to boil this all down. And it's called The 3 Pillars of Survival. Now, this is a school building, your workplace, a hospital, wherever people gather and we're concerned. The 3 pillars, if you cover them and you cover them well, you're going a long way to being safe and secure. And that's how I look at it. So the first one is preparation. Do you train? Do you have equipment? Do you use technology? Do you have good culture? Do you talk about what to do? Do you practice what to do? They do that here. Right? The second one is communication. How does a teacher in East High School looking out the 3rd store window there see somebody with a weapon, let everybody know that there's danger? See, because time equals life. When we can see approaching danger, we can take action. They have things in place to help them communicate quickly. And the third one is notification. How do we call the good guy and good girl guns to come to us when we need them? How do we get that word out? There's things in place to do that. And we're building relationships with the police to make that even better, right? So those 3 pillars of survival are covered here. Does that mean can prevent everything? No, we talked about that. But you're in a very, very good place that if something does happen, you will come out of it as best as anyone will. So preparation and doing the right things is what's going to help us. All right, so I want to thank you all very much. I do feel like a part of the Sachem family. I've told everybody that till they're probably sick of hearing me say it. But I do like being here. And my office is close by, so I'll swing by once in a while and pay attention and see what's going on here. Thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate it. And thank you to the board and the superintendent for having me here.
I just want to see, are there any questions from the board?
Oh, but from the board, I'm sorry.
I know we've had a lot of conversations. I just wanna make sure.
Figure you're tired of hearing me.
I will.
Thank you.
If not, then I just want to jump in for a second. Wayne, our head of security, Wayne, I want to thank you for, again, literally opening the doors to every place, every nook and cranny, and kind of just saying, here it is, right? And as Lieutenant Pangaro said, there could be sometimes this concern that, well, I might look bad, so I'm not going to show this or discuss this. There was none of that out of your department, and I appreciate that so much. And Lieutenant Pangaro, yes, you are certainly a member of this family. Just think about this for a second. Every one of these kids is our kids, the most important thing that we have. And bringing you in to make sure that we have a safe place for them means a lot to me. So the trust that we have in you, I know we did take your ID back from you, right? Yeah. Because we are really careful with that and security, but we asked you to protect our family, and I think you helped us to do that. So thank you very much.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure and my honor. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, do I have to make a motion to take number 3 out of order? Or can we just go and then go back?
I don't think you're tied to a particular sequence.
Okay.
Right, okay.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to move to number 3 on page 2, business items consent agenda A through D. I need a motion. Mr. Picarello, second. Mrs. Volpe, Stephanie Volpe. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
So I'm going to ask at this time that Mr. Tuffer come up to the front, grab the mic, and we just did something really special, really important for our family. We talk about family a lot here. I'm going to ask you, Mr. Tuffer, to talk to us a little about what we just established.
Thank you, Dr. Pelletieri, Cabinet and Board, for giving me an opportunity to speak. Just approved the Harrison Fresenda Memorial Scholarship. Really a wonderful cause, a wonderful benefit for you all to have approved and moving forward. Just to give you a little bit of background, Harrison Fresenda started his Waverly journey with us as a kindergartner in 2019, and those who worked most closely with him describe Harrison as a student with kind personality, caring personality, and a wonderful smile that lit up a room, right? He had a great 2 years with us at Waverly, making progress, tremendous progress in so many ways, so many areas, and he made a lasting impact on everybody who worked with him at Waverly in the 2 years that he was there. And Harrison comes from a wonderful family. I was here tonight as well. Always supportive, always wonderful to work with, always willing, more than willing to go above and beyond to do whatever it took for Harrison to be successful. And we have done some things at Waverly at the building level to honor Harrison's memory at Waverly. And we think it's, personally, I think it's just a wonderful extension of that memory for the board to have approved a scholarship in his honor for time and memoriam, really, so that Harrison's family can continue to give back to the community, can continue to support the Sachem community, and really, in the end, they will be providing opportunities for kids who might not have opportunities otherwise to move on to the next level after high school. It's really a wonderful thing. Just want to thank the board for your support. Thank the district for your support as well. Thank the Fresenda family, of course, for your ongoing support, generosity, thoughtfulness, really in the gift that you gave us for Harrison Walk in our hallways for the 2 years that he was a Waverly student. So thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Would we mind if the family, could we get a picture, Mr. Tuffer, with the family? Would we mind? Because we have our photographer here. We could have a story in the local paper. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, we are going to jump back into our order now. And Ms. Sarakis, I believe you are up, right? We are at that point in time. We're going to have budget workshop number 2.
Yes, that is correct. Thank you. This hurts my feelings a little bit, that just a little bit. Okay, welcome to budget workshop number 2. Tonight, Mr. Sachs and I are going to review the student activities and support services expenditure codes. I'm also going to provide a recap of workshop number 1 because during that workshop, that was focused on the non-instructional codes, but we were also looking at the tax levy and our revenue for the next school year. But at that time, the governor hadn't released her budget numbers. So now we have our state aid figures. So I'm just going to do a recap on the revenue side. So I'd like to start with the tax levy. We went into quite a bit of detail last time on this calculation, and it has changed just slightly based on some building aid numbers that were released in the governor's budget proposal. So whereas last time we were showing a 2.09% tax levy increase, that has come down slightly due to an increase in building aid that is projected to a 2.076%. This is the governor's budget. So she released her budget proposal on February 1st, and you will see the largest portion of our state aid, which is our foundation aid. Sachem is scheduled to receive a 3% increase. That is $2.7 million. That 3% this represents year 3 of the foundation aid phase-in, where the state is going to they call it fully fund the formula. Any district that had been receiving more than their allotment of state aid over the past 10 to 12 years is only receiving what they called a hold harmless increase in the state aid. So this is the 3rd year that Sachem is in hold harmless. So that 3% you see is the minimum increase that the state was offering in state aid.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak to that for a second because I saw a big story in Newsday and other areas. We got all this money coming districts, 10%, 8%, and except the minimum will be 3%. And
that's us.
Sachem is the minimum 3%. Okay.
Correct.
All right. Thank you.
So our overall increase in state aid is just over $4 million. That's 3.02%. There are some aids that are going up, some that are coming down. But I just want to go back to the tax levy real quick to show you that increase, I gave the percentage, but the dollars is a $4.2 million increase over the current year's levy. That's going to come into play in a couple of slides. So then we have our other revenues that we talked about last time, with the main driver of that $1.8 million increase being the interest that the district is receiving now that we have these higher rates that we're recognizing. And then finally, we do include fund balance and reserves as a revenue source. That is really the savings account of the district, and it can be used to balance the budget. For the 22-23 school year, we had utilized $6 million worth of reserves that the community voted on. So that's part of our revenue stream for this current year. So looking ahead, if we look at the summary of all of our revenues that we'll have available to us for the next school year, there's our property taxes at $4.2 million, the state aid at just over $4 million, $1.8 million in other revenues. Right now, we're showing the fund balance and reserves if we held that at the current level of $6 million. So that's where you see there's no change in that. So we're looking at new revenues for the next school year of approximately $10 million. So really, $10 million is roughly the amount, give or take, because we haven't fully decided what we're going to do with fund balance and reserves. $10 million is your increase in your expenditure budget that you can fund with these new revenue sources. So I'm going to recap the non-instructional areas that we talked about at last time. General support, transportation, employee benefits, debt service, and interfund transfers. We were waiting for an RFP for our transportation services. We were showing approximately $3 million increase in that before we got the RFP back. That came back at roughly $2.2 million. And there were some adjustments in the retirement system contributions and some of our calculations within the employee benefits that brought that down slightly. But you'll see that we're showing in the non-instructional expenditure codes an $11.5 million increase in those budgets for the next school year. Just to recap, we have $10 million in new revenues coming in, and just in the non-instructional codes, we have $11.5 million in new expenditures. We're starting with a $1.5 million budget gap before we even get into the new code areas for tonight. Main driver in the non-instructional, other than the transportation RFP that we just brought back, is the health insurance. This was the second year in a row that we saw about 13% increase in our health insurance, and that makes up the majority of that $8.8 million in our employee benefit code. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Sachs.
Evening. Let's continue. The next section we're going to discuss is the interscholastic athletics, phys ed, and health services. We'll start with function 2035, interscholastic athletics administration. 23-24 proposed budget is $714,000, and that consists primarily of contractual salaries for our directors, trainers, and our clerical staff. It is the admin office up at district office. Next function, 2135, physical education, $53,000. It's basically supplies and materials for the phys ed program. Function 2815, health services, $2.465 million. That consists of contractual salaries, which are our nurses that are in our buildings, physician services, and health services for private and parochial students. I just want to take a moment to describe what health services for private and parochial students is. When we have a SACHM student who attends a private and parochial school outside of the district, he or she is entitled to health services, for example, from a nurse. It is the responsibility of the district of location where that private school is for them to provide the health services. We enter into a contract with that school district to pay them for the services they're providing the SACHM student in the private and parochial school. Our next section, 2855, interscholastic athletics, is $3.22 million. This consists of coaching, chaperones, officiating fees, materials, and supplies. Interscholastic athletics, we have 76 different teams with over 4,000 students participating. This is an interesting chart. It shows all 76 interscholastic teams by season, fall, winter, spring, on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, what you're seeing are the personnel costs for each season, fall, winter, and spring. Keep in mind, these are basically our coaching stipends for varsity, JV, and middle school. This does not include chaperones. It does not include supplies. It does not include section fees, or does it not include travel. Just to give you a better idea of what those costs are, our officiating fees to section are approximately $400,000. Our supply budget for interscholastic athletics is approximately $287,000, and our chaperones are approximately $193,000. Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
Okay.
Thank you.
Question.
On page 10 with the, you listed all the sports. I do not see middle school tennis.
That's what I just mouthed.
I hate to be like, you know.
That's what I just mouthed you. Where's tennis?
Oh.
So that's not your fault. We added tennis last year. I know we updated the numbers. I just want to make sure that we go through these as well. Tennis should be in there under middle, unless we. I'm sorry. I'm not even going to play around. I'm not even going to play around. It's supposed to be in there,
Play
right?
I'll pay for it myself if I have to.
No. I apologize.
I was just kidding.
Yeah. We did that just to goof with you, Mr. Baum.
If It's not listed under the team side on the left, but it would have been included in the cost on the right because we did get those figures from athletics.
So we'll amend that slide.
Yes, I will.
Ron, just a quick question. I see that how much we budgeted last year. I know that our seasons are still going and the spring hasn't even started yet, but when we do this, maybe it's for the future, but I'd love to see like a 5-year, what did we budget? What did we spend? What did we budget? What did we spend? It's nice to see the budget, but are we close? Are we under? Are we over?
Sure.
Something along those lines, just so we can compare it when we look at it.
We could do a larger comparison.
Thank you.
Just a quick question on interscholastic athletics. You've got the 3.2 million, and then on the following chart, you've got the 2.1. And then Ron, I think you just rattled off 400K per section, 280, I think 297 supplies. Is that the delta between the 2.1 and the 3.2?
Yes.
Is that
Yes.
okay? So that's
Those are all in that 2855
got it.
code.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. So now we're going on to the Office of Student Services, CSE, and related services. So our 2250 code, that's our special education code, and that's our contractual salaries. It's tuition to public and private placements, and our BOCES services. So what I did at the bottom of this slide, you'll see the table that breaks down, because within this one slide of the 58 million, the Office of Special Education represents $51 million of that portion. So our staff salaries, you'll see, are $34 million. We have approximately 555 FTEs. Contractual services, that includes estimates for evaluations and impartial hearings. Public and private placements, those are our tuition costs. BOCES placements and services. So you'll see public and private placements, the cost is going down roughly $274,000. That could be students that have aged out, have moved out, or have possibly moved over into a BOCES placements, and you'll see the BOCES number is going up. We're still in the process of entering our BOCES figures. The portal isn't open yet, but we did get a breakdown of some of our fees from a meeting that Dr. Pelletieri had attended. So where we can drop in the figures, we are. BOCES did increase a bit more than we had anticipated on the special education side. We were expecting around 2.8%, but it's actually going up 4.6%. And then we have our BOCES occupational education, and then supplies and materials. Our 2251 code, Committee on Special Education, that's related services such as physical therapy, occupational therapy, and nursing. The nursing in this code is not the nursing that Mr. Sachs referenced on the prior slide. Those were the nurses in the buildings. These are the nurses for our medically fragile students and specific to those students. And then 2820 and 2825 are just the contractual salaries for our psychologists and social workers. Any questions? Yes.
How many of the related service providers are farmed out to like private agencies, and how many are full-time employees that work for SACHM? And would that be something we should look into to provide
I
in the
don't
district?
think, yeah, then I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't think they're our employees. I think that we use
They are
agencies.
through an agency.
Is there a way to figure out if that's cheaper to like hire full-time employees that work here that would service our kids?
I mean, that's
Because that's a
something,
huge increase.
that's something we can look into. I know there are districts that have staff that do this as part of, district employees, and it can be a savings because you have them for the entire day rather than, paying that hourly. So that's something I guess
And
we
I
could
know there's
look
also
into.
a shortage, right? So we've been farming out to a whole bunch of different agencies, or have we
And,
seen a
and
difference
definitely
in that?
a hard time with nurses, finding nurses.
Right.
If I could just add to that, there are some positions that school districts may not be able to employ through civil service, only because of the parameters that they have with certain types of requirements of what might be able to be an employee of a governmental agency through a town or a county or something of that nature versus a school district. but we do look at that in conjunction with the special education department to see if there's a possibility of adding staff as we go through. You're absolutely right. There is a shortage of folks who are working, especially in things that are OT, PT, that sort of thing, which are typically agency generated.
Can I ask a follow-up? Is it an increase in cost or is it an increase in the amount of kids that need the service? Like the 26%, is it costing us 6% more, or are there 26% more kids that need the related services?
It's cost.
Alex, and then Meredith next.
Just a quick question. You may not have this off the top of your head. I see that it says we have 555 FTEs on here. Approximately how many students are serviced with that number? I just think it would be helpful for the community's going to say, oh, well, look how much money the teachers are making. But it would be helpful to say, we have 3,000 students 4,000 students that are being serviced in this category that are getting what they need on a daily basis.
I don't
We have a
have
little
that
over
out there for
500
you.
students.
Say it again.
We have a little over 500 students or so, right, Dennis? Overall, special education students, a little over 500.
It's got to be more than that.
Oh, 2,800,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah,
I'm thinking
yeah.
per building.
That's why I didn't want to put you on the spot. You didn't have to answer that. If you,
Sorry,
okay.
I was thinking our staff.
Okay. Thank you.
2,800, thank you.
That was my question.
So again, the main driver of that 26.9%, we're just thinking it's going to be actual costs.
Yes. Yes.
Dennis, is there anything you want to add to that from?
Can I ask Dennis a question?
No. Go ahead.
I know that in the past, we've had in-district nurses
He needs a mic.
assigned to students who need that type of nursing. Is that a lot cheaper in your opinion? And if you can't answer that, that's fine. But would it be cheaper for us to hire a whole slew of nurses to address this need? Because having a child who needed nursing, I know that it's a hard issue to find them, but it's also, if you have to pay that much more for them.
We do have a significant number of students who require nursing who are homebound as well. Those aren't students that we could provide the nursing from the district. We would have to look at, because not only would we be doing salaries that would have to be comparable to what some of the agencies, and we'd also have to look at our in-district nursing staff as far as salaries go compared to what they would be getting at an agency to be able to provide, plus the benefits on top of that. So we have looked at nursing as well as OT and PT. Years ago, we used to employ our own OTs and PTs, but it, fiscally it is better to use some of the agencies that we use.
So I think certainly time to go back and look at that, if we're at that tipping point, to go back the other way. So we'll take a look at that.
The only thing, of course, that drives the employee benefits. lines up,
Benefits.
right?
Yep, without a doubt. It has to be calculated within. Dennis, thank you.
Okay. The next section up for discussion is federal programs, AIS, ENL, and co-curricular. Federal programs is previously known as our grants office. Our grants office has now moved over to curriculum and instruction. Function 2060 federal programs is really more along the lines of STEM and humanities at this time. For $141,000, it consists of contractual salaries and materials and supplies. The next function is 2270, special needs. Now, I just want to differentiate what special needs is. This is not the special education program. This is considered AIS, ENL, remedial reading, remedial math, and that's for $6.245 million. Consists of contractual salaries and new staff. The next section, function 2850, co-curricular activities, is for $567,000, is basically just contractual increase. And just some statistics on co-curricular. High School East and North have approximately 50 clubs with 4,400 student participants. Our middle school level, Seneca, Sagamore, and Samoset, each have approximately 25 clubs with 1,500 student participants. And each elementary school has approximately 6 clubs, 1,700 student participants. Is there any questions on this section?
I just want to ask, I know that there was some work being done with the clubs and where, do you know where I know it's kind of an old business item too. Have we calculated that into this? Have we kind of, yes.
Well, the meetings that we've been having
Yes.
with those are still ongoing.
Those are still ongoing. Okay.
So Ron, just that 8.51%, obviously some of that increase is contractual salaries, but when you say new staff, you have identified needs that you're going to need this staff for? We already know this is going to happen?
They're new, they're here.
Oh, they're here already?
I'm sorry,
So-
I didn't hear your question.
Well, I'm just
Can you
looking at
say
the 8.51% contractual salaries.
For the
obviously.
special needs?
Yeah, for special needs.
So I think we're always looking in terms of possible, projections for next year, but no, we are in the middle. Mr. Mbetta and I are looking at that right now.
Okay.
So a part of that is when I say new staff, they were hired during this school year, so they're not reflected in that 22-23 budget number, which is why you see that increase into 23-24. They were hired, the majority, since September.
Yeah, I'll just give a specific.
I'm sorry, we're talking about the ENL staff.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
My apologies. So new staff this year was because of the projections, which we went over in terms of the doubling of number in terms of our ENL department. So that is included because we just want to make sure that we safeguard that for the following year, if
Right.
that should be needed again.
Okay. I was going to say, because we really haven't seen the influx yet that you might see for kindergarten who need ENL, and you haven't seen that.
No, but you don't want to be obviously under budget just in case.
Right.
And we did see an increase in ENL already. We've talked about that, I think, at a couple of board meetings, and we've had to increase staff already as a result. So while we're using some of the surplus now to make sure we offset that cost, we have to make sure we budget for it next year.
Okay, so finally, just to recap these, the student activities and student support services, the 3 areas that we reviewed tonight represent $71.5 million of the proposed budget, with a dollar increase of $2.1 million or 3.1%. And it's important to remember, as I said earlier, we have $10 million in new revenues. We started with $11.5 million in new expenditures based on non-instructional. Adding another 2.1 million brings us up to $13.7 million in expenditures with a $10 million new revenue source. And the biggest area we're going to hit at the next meeting is our curriculum and instruction. So it is a work in progress. We are still reviewing all of the codes. There are still many unknowns that we have to factor in that could be, increases or decreases. We're working very closely with Mrs. Hines' office to see what we can put into grants to kind of offset these increased costs, but that's where we are right now. So next steps, we continue to refine the budget projections. We are going to file with the state comptroller's office that 2.0760% tax levy cap increase. We'll do that by the March 1st, 2023 deadline with the state comptroller's office. If there are any changes based on the final state budget, we do have up until June to go back and make revisions to that filing. March 8th is workshop number 3 for curriculum and instruction. March 22nd is workshop 4 with the proposed budget update and capital project recommendations. April 5th is the final workshop with the proposed budget update. Budget adoption on April 19th, the budget hearing on May 3rd, and the budget vote on May 16th.
Just a quick question, Michelle. Can we get in advance capital project recommendations? Is that something we can see
Yes.
prior to
Yeah,
that?
we actually-
I don't want to get that sprung on us.
No,
at
sir.
the meeting.
No. We would not do that. We actually had that meeting
Meeting
today,
today.
and you're
Okay.
going to get it Friday.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, in the Friday packet.
Ask and you shall receive.
See that? You don't even have to
I
ask,
don't have
and
to
you're going to
ask, it's
receive
there.
it. Yep.
Thank you.
Ms. Pigwitz, that concludes my rather long superintendent's report. I apologize.
Yeah, that's
Mr. Bauman, I apologize.
number one. We're still on opening of meeting. All right, so we are up to C, student board member report. Matthew, Alyssa, do you guys have anything to share going on at East and North?
Oh yeah, just we met today with our student government itself and just talking about March Madness and how we're gonna go about that. Nothing major, just planning out how that day's gonna go.
What do you do you do the boxes and you pick out who's going to win this year, Duke or like what do you mean by March Madness?
Oh, with our schools, we have a basketball tournament that you can sign up for, compete. It's a 4-week span of pool play, and then on day in April, I'm not sure what day yet. But
Our own kids are competing. How many kids are on a team?
I think you need 3 and a teacher.
3 and a teacher. How about 3 and a superintendent? I'm going to tell you something. I used to be a very good basketball player.
Oh yeah,
I broke this finger. Look at that. You see how it's crooked?
oh yeah.
No, football was my thumb, Mr. Rounds. I have a screw in there. But this was for basketball.
All right, yeah.
It might be. I might put myself out there. We'll see. I haven't played in a while though.
Hop in, yeah.
You guys keep me too busy around here. All right, Matthew. So that's our own kind of version of March Madness.
Yeah.
See, I didn't even know that. Thank you. Are you playing?
I'm not allowed. My lacrosse coach doesn't allow us.
I knew you were going to say that. Cross coach will not allow it. Okay. All right. Excellent. Thank you.
We also met today for student government, and we started the planning for March Madness as well.
You're playing?
No.
No basketball for you?
No.
Okay. Do girls play?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Girl teams versus the other girl teams, or they mix it up?
No,
Do you know?
it's just mixed. It's whatever.
Oh, wow. Okay. Excellent.
Good. Yes, thank you. All right, and we are on D, approval of minutes from the January 25th regular meeting. Need a motion? Mrs. Volpe, Stephanie Volpe, I should say second. Matthew Bauman. All in favor? Oppose? Motion carried. Okay. So we have 2 visitors. Do we have any visitors? Nothing. Okay. All right. So we already did 3. We're moving on to 4 on page 3. Right? Yes, at the bottom there. Personnel teachers consent agenda A through L. Need a motion. Ms. Sarnia, second. Mr. Reynolds. All in favor? Any questions? I should have said that first. Any questions? No? Okay. Opposed? Motion carried. What? Oh, Kristen, yes.
So we'd just like to recognize 2 of our teacher assistants from East who have just been approved by the Board of Education for tenure. As you may know, that our teacher assistants are an instructional employee, and Miss Margaret Girardi just received a recommendation for tenure. She's a cosmetology TA over at East, a right hand and a left hand to the teacher and the staff in the Cosmo section. Also, Eileen Murphy at East is a special education teacher assistant, and we'd like to recognize them and congratulate them on their tenure.
Okay, we are on number 5 on page 7. We have personnel support staff consent agenda A through G. A motion. Mr. Isernia, seconded by Mr. Picciarello. Any questions? All in favor? Oppose? Motion carried.
Ms. Pickowitz,
Yes.
just a recognition of 2 of our food service workers who are on the agenda this evening as a retirement. Recognizing that 3 of our students came up to speak about the importance of the food service and what happens on a daily basis for nutrition for our students. We'd like to thank Paulette, Lane, and Victoria Torcato for their years of service in supporting our students and our faculty and making sure that everybody has what they need to get through the day with an added touch. Congratulations on your retirement.
Just short of 50 years combined, the 2 of them, food service, amazing. Food's very important to me, so I want to thank them on behalf of our kids, and just amazing that they would spend that much time with us, with our Sachem family. Thank you.
So we're on page 9 for number 6, contracts consent agenda A through E. I need a motion. Mr. Bauman, seconded by Mr. Reynolds. Any questions? All in favor? Oppose? Motion carried. We are moving on to 7, which is field trips on page 11. I need a motion. Mr. Picarello, seconded by Mr. Isernia. All questions? All in favor? Oppose? Motion carried. We're moving on to number 8. We have our donations from Merrimack is donating a electric sign. So that's great. So a motion? One second. Let's do a motion. Mrs. Volpe, seconded by Mr. Picarello. Any questions or discussions? Yes, Stephanie.
Congratulations, Merrimack, because we were very jealous of all the electronic signs everywhere as a PTA. So woohoo for finally getting one. And that's all I had to say because it's a big deal.
Okay.
And I'll be happy to drive past it and see it glowing.
All right. All in favor? Oppose? Motion carried. And we'll thank them for their generous donation. Thank you. We're on number 9. So we have the Committee on Special Education consent agenda A through B for the meetings from January and February that have been held. A motion, please. Mr. Baumann, seconded by Mr. Isernia. Any questions? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Oppose? Okay. Motion carried. So we are on number 10. Yes. Okay. So the annual budget vote and election. For A and B, we have no vote required. Just a reminder that we do have the, what is it? The hearing, yes, the hearing on May 3rd. On B, we have open registration, voter registration. You can reach our district clerk, Mrs. Allison Florio, if you have any questions about getting registered. Yes? Okay. On the next 3, so here on C, D, and E, we have to take a vote individually on each of these, correct? So on C, we are doing the nominating petitions for those people the candidates for the Board of Education. I need a motion. Mr. Isernia, second. Mrs. Meredith Volpe, any questions? All in favor? Oppose? Motion carried. We're going to D. It says the rental of voting machines for the annual budget vote. I need a motion. Mr. Isernia, seconded by Mrs. Meredith Volpe. Any questions? All in favor? Oppose? Motion carried. And then E, we have the notice of the annual budget vote and election trustees, all the locations that they would be. I need a motion. Mr. Isernia, seconded by Mr. Reynolds. All in favor? Oppose? Motion carried.
Yes, that's correct.
Right.
We no longer use Tecumseh or Gate Lot for our voting. If anyone has any questions, there is a link that we keep on our website that you can punch in your address and it will provide you with your polling location, or you can feel free to go online, contact my office, or email myself, and I would be happy to give you that information.
Okay. Thank you. All right, number 11, monthly reports. Any of our committees? Mr. Reynolds?
So the Budget Advisory Committee met last week to review the presentation that was given the prior week from the board. I think overall it was a very positive meeting. I want to thank Ms. Sarakis and Ron for helping drive that discussion. We had 7 out of 8 community members attend, and it was very interactive, and I think they got a lot of good value out of it. We've got another one coming up now tomorrow night, so the cadence will be after we do one of these presentations, the committee will get together and meet. Okay. Stephanie, anything to add?
No, it
Okay.
went really well.
Yeah. Okay.
Meredith?
So tonight we had a diversity meeting, and I think it went really, really well. Erin, are you going to talk about Eid?
Yes, in our last presentation, we talked about, and thank you very much for confirming and approving our theme and towards dignity and inclusion for our diversity committee and our work moving forward. And a portion of that was a family and students who had advocated for having space on our calendar next year, not necessarily a day off, but religious observance for Eid. So we talked about that tonight. The family members and prior students and present student did attend tonight. They were really pleased and very thankful for the fact that we as a community recognize that there is a cadre of students, quite a large cadre of students who do celebrate. And so it was a really satisfying nothing to see tonight. So religious observance means that we will look to not have homework and/or tests on the night before and possibly the night of, to ensure that students feel comfortable to celebrate their holiday, much like we would Christmas, Hanukkah, alike.
I think one of the most powerful things for me in the meeting was Dr. A. I'm not even going to attempt her name. She opened up with, everybody's got these diversity buzzwords. And for us, it wasn't so much that. It was focus on the solutions, not the problems. It's about how you treat people, and you're only responsible for what you do as doing the right thing. Here, we're trying to get a culture of caring and climate of belonging plus culture of dignity is where we're going to create We Are Sachem as the Sachem family. And I think that inclusive to everyone, a young lady spoke about how when she went to school here, she's now in college, when she went to school here, it was hard for her to, she loved learning about Christmas and she loved learning about Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and all the different holidays, but no one was learning about her holiday. Nobody understood why she was going to fast or wasn't going to the lunchroom, or why she was going to, what the evening would hold for her, or why she was late because she went to morning prayer or whatever. So I think us learning as a district, and maybe we could even have a presentation as we get closer to Ramadan, have a presentation from a Muslim family, Muslim community members, where we could understand it. I mean, we all kind of touch on one another's religions. I don't think many of us know much about Eid, and when you find out, it's a very nice holiday, and I think that us learning a little bit more about it would be beneficial to everyone.
Of course, that's up to the board, but as a committee, and I completely agree with more knowledge is better for us as a community. Many people may not know this, but at the secondary level, it's actually part of the state standards that we talk about various world religions. So part of that is the Muslim, religion and history. At the elementary level, we're looking to add that in terms of we talk about Chinese New Year, we talk about Christmas, Hanukkah, all of those holidays that all of our students are celebrating, and not so in-depth direct instruction, but more crafts, activities, just in awareness. So tonight, those families and those students also shared read-alouds and some craft ideas, some samples of lessons that we will bring back to the committee and, share that accordingly to see if that's something that we want to move forward in our curriculum.
I know you also talked about, and because the board brought up the last time we were together, some type of survey of students, staff, parents around this culture of care, belonging, dignity.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. So Dr. Affin, and I feel like sometimes I struggle, am I saying it right? But just Georgia, plain Georgia. She's amazing. We've all been working together after you guys did approve, Board of Education approved. It was very clear to us that our next step was to survey our community, survey our students. So she has worked with the rest of the folks in our committee to find surveys to help us sort of craft our own that we feel is going to be appropriate for our Sachem community, students and staff, starting with our BOCES surveys that they have, other school districts, et cetera. So tonight we just shared some samples, and that will be our next committee meeting.
Mr. Reynolds.
Just a quick question on the survey. Would we have an opportunity to see what questions are being asked before it goes out to the community and the students?
We're going to task the group with coming up with something that'll be passed to me, and I'll pass it along to the board.
Thank
Right, we can even put it in the Friday pack too, if that's what you would like.
I just wanted to thank our cabinet members and board members who took time out of their Saturday to go to the Longwood Legislative Forum on Saturday. Super important for us to connect with other boards for advocacy and also with our elected officials. So I want to just think I saw all you guys sending us pictures. So I want to say thank you for going and representing Sachem at that. Mrs. Wilby.
In the future, is the legislative committee allowed to be invited for Sachem? Like, could we, because I think they could see how to set something up like that, since that was something we brought back. Okay.
In order to effort that. I know boards are. I don't know about a committee of the board, but we can have a conversation.
Okay. We don't have any boards discussion items tonight. No. Okay. Future items for discussion. Anybody have anything for future? Meredith?
It's not really future, but I just want to wish our cheer teams. Last night I had a great experience. I went to Sachem North and I watched the send off for our Sachem North cheerleaders as they're going to Disney for the Nationals, and Sachem East is also going to Disney for the Nationals. Mr. Torregrossa was actually there, and the first comment he said to me is he's been to quite a few of these competitions, and he can't believe that both of our teams are as exceptional as they are. I only was able to observe North last night. It was a pretty heart-stopping moment. These girls flip up in the air and then other girls catch them, and it's very scary for me, but they are amazing. And so I just want to wish them all great success down in Disney.
For a wrestling football mom to be nervous more at the cheerleading
Way
competition.
more nerve-wracking. I can watch football, wrestling, lacrosse all day long, but this
They have
was
helmets.
nerve-wracking. And these girls were amazing. They held their position, got flipped in the air while they held the position, and came back down. Amazing.
Mr. Bauman?
For a future discussion item, I heard from some parents about they were complaining about the e-school educational program, or whatever it's called, the grading thing. And then I was talking to them about what my school district uses. We use iCampus. So, is there a policy, like how long we keep that before we look, into other programs? Or
Are you looking to suggest switching the student management system? Is that what you're
just
saying?
to look into it and maybe take a poll with the teachers and see what they think? And I know
That is
parents,
a huge undertaking. The student management system is not.
Sure. No, I get
right?
it.
So you use Infinite Campus or iCampus? Is that what you said?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure we can.
I'm just saying,
I'm sure we
future
could
item,
ask, but-
look at it, take a look at
Yeah,
it.
we can definitely
Yeah.
take
It's not the easiest, as far as parents, especially if you try to use it on your phone, the app. It's just not very.
Every student management system, I'll tell you, only because
Yeah.
as our CIO, I've worked with a million of them. There's pros and cons to every single one, but I think it's always healthy to just say, is this working for us?
I can just, as a teacher,
Mm.
the program that Three Village uses is awesome.
Yeah, I think you guys use Infinite Campus.
We do.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yep.
Perhaps, Mr. Bauman, if there are some specific folks that have some specific concerns, whether it's a parent university or could they reach out directly to your office perhaps? And
Well, if
Ms.
I can
Buckberg
just be a
could kind
little
of walk them
honest,
through?
in that we've had e-school for quite a number of years here, but to the level of how we utilized it, like I know in Three Village, only because Three Village was like one of the first. When I was at ComSwag, we also used Infinite Campus at the same time. We used it to its fullest. Here in Sachem, we haven't used e-school to its fullest up until probably the past 2 or 3 years. Now adding on things like child study team notes, E&L reports. So as a school system, it was more like a repository for just kind of getting on there and seeing what your student has as a schedule.
Yeah.
And for a teacher, it wasn't as friendly as what it really is looking and being over the past couple of years. So I think a lot of that also, Ms. Brown, is probably around training and just hearing from our teachers, like, what do you still need to know about? Because we really have not used it to its full capacity. So, but it would be great to hear the background of what they're seeing as not, is the app an issue? Do they not know how to use the app? Are the reports not full enough?
Yeah, I think with the Infinite Campus, it's also linked where all your special ed, everything is
Mhm.
all at your fingertips. I think from what I've seen, now I haven't seen it through a teacher's eyes, the e-school, but I think it's worth looking at.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we have IEP Direct, connected. We now have something called Elevation for our E&L students, but it would be great if we can maybe get some of your feedback and we're actually meeting with SCTA on Friday, so maybe we can touch base with them too to hear if they're hearing anything about teachers' needs.
Is that a big expense to switch programs?
Yes.
Maybe this is a bad time. Let's not talk about it in front of Michelle.
Yeah, actually, Jack's back there. Jack knows
Jack,
more.
can you get up and
if just relatively speaking, switching student management systems it's not just like switching, it takes a couple of years to move all your data, move the background of the data. Jack is obviously more techie in this than me, but I've done it a couple of times in a district and it can be. But no matter, it sounds like it needs to be more friendly for our teachers and possibly for our community. So we can definitely look into that.
I think as I was listening, I'm obviously not an educator, but I'm a parent, and I think like my biggest problem with it is that when you are looking at it on your phone, like today was report card day, so we were all on there looking at report cards. Unless you turn your phone a certain way and then you wait, it is glitchy. Maybe we can look into that. Also, we're with so many students, we also have to worry about, is there a program out there robust enough for us? And, of course, budget, because here we are already up against a $3 million.
Yeah, it sounds like, Ms. Renda, maybe we can do some workshops around parent views, because honestly, a student management system doesn't necessarily look the best on a phone. It's usually supposed to be more on a, right? That's anyone, but we can certainly do more trainings around that too.
Yeah. Or we could just ask our kids, because I'm sure they look at their report card before we do.
Just to add, I mean, I know, sorry, do you want to? Just because it's funny that Matthew must have read my mind. I have the app on my phone. I can't toggle between my students, and maybe it's me, but I consider myself pretty tech savvy. And then I see on social media people sharing snapshots of their power schools and they're large, and you can see every school, and me, I'm sitting here like, how do I get from one kid to the other? And I'm screenshotting it and zooming in. So I'm thinking more of, for me, is the parent end. I'm pretty sure on the teacher end, it works pretty similarly to other management systems. So I'm thinking, most of us are on our phones, and I think I would love the notification that a grade went through or homework is missing to kind of keep up to date. And maybe Mr. Renda could do it if I'm not using the app properly, but I think that was for me on that end, more of the parent end of seeing it. That was my issue, because I know that Infinite Campus, and I'm familiar with the app with that and with Power Schools, and it seemed to be a little bit more user-friendly on the parent end. I think the teacher side, but I know what a task it would be. So, Mrs. Wilby.
Can we request from eSchool that they, modify an app? I mean, we're a big school district, and I never thought there was an option to change it over, but it is pretty daunting to log in, and then you're losing, like, sometimes the grades slide over and you can't see what's going on, or you're trying to find, what didn't my kid do? And then it gets like sucked into the side of the program, and then it's missing.
So maybe,
But I never really thought of it.
Maybe we can start with a parent workshop series with our own team of eSchool folks that are here to just give, again, a parent academy, just make sure everyone's.
I'd like a better app. Like, that's what I think. You know
Well,
what I mean? Like,
I just question though, is it an app where we just go, is it an app, or is it just a web browser onto the system? Because it doesn't seem like it's web app friendly, right? So it's not an app, right? Yeah. It's just a web browser onto the system, which you're not going to get mobile user friendliness. That's the challenge, right? So.
Yeah, we'll check with eSchool, because maybe they have an app or are building an app which would then work on all these things. All right, so we'll
app
take that
we
feedback
can't
back.
really use though, right?
It's not an
It's
app.
a weird.
Yeah, it's not an app.
Yeah. But does it? That's bizarre.
Right, you have to toggle. You have to go out and then go back in. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
On behalf of all the kids in the district, I'm sure that they're very happy that you guys don't know how to use this system whatsoever. So I don't think they want to change anything.
When you say you guys, you mean the parents, right? Oh, you mean? I was going to say Jack knows what he's doing.
I don't fit in that category, so that's you guys.
We actually just opened up so kids can see their own report cards, grades as they go in, right? Mrs. Trombetta, we just had this conversation.
Yes, we just approved it for some reason it wasn't open to them, so they should be able to see not only their midterms and the all grades throughout the semester, but their progress reports and report cards.
Yeah, this is again about kids having ownership of their education, of their learning, and so we open that up for them. That just happened this week.
Right, any other future items for discussion? Okay, so the next meeting is going to be on March 8th. So I need a motion to enter into executive session for the purpose of discussing collective negotiations, discipline matters relating to specific personnel, and the sale or lease of real property. The motion, Mr. Picciarello, seconded by Mr. Isernia. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
Great job tonight, Vice President Pickowicz. Thank you.